Today, we're talking to Damon Lembi, CEO at LearnIt, about how his worst coach made him into a great leader. Thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring this episode. For simple cloud and powerful AI that's built to scale, visit DigitalOcean.com or just click the link in the show notes. You're listening to Joel Beasley, Modern CTO.
And basically, the way I got connected to you was I interviewed Rob, who I immediately liked and had a lot of respect for.
Yep.
And then he's like, hey, you've got to talk to Damon. And I said, okay, we'll talk to Damon. And you've got a book, The Learn It All Leader. That's like a play on Know It All. You've got a bunch of stuff. Why don't you tell me a little bit about like what you have going on right now?
So I got a book, The Learn It All Leader, but what I've been doing is I've been running a live learning platform for about 30 years. And essentially what that is we do B2B training where companies turn to us if they need to upskill managers who don't have the right skill set, or they're trying to work through communication challenges. But we also, we've also for 30 years, our bread and butter used to be around Office 365 training, how to implement and roll out Office 365 or whatever before, and getting people involved in adoption. So we did that for quite a while. We still do. I mean, it's changing a little bit with AI and Copilot. But essentially, my book is just about, I used to be a baseball player. And my only job I've ever had was LearnIt. And what happened was when my baseball career came to an end at 22, I was kind of like dealing with a identity crisis. Like, what do I do now? I don't know if my skills are transferable or not. And so because of that, I took a job as a receptionist at one of my family's companies and kind of went all in when it came to learning and being curious and working with mentors and everything. And so I ended up writing my book, telling a story about my journey and others that I've worked with or come across over the years.
Awesome. So existential identity crisis after baseball career wrapped up, and you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Then you just said, hey, I'm just going to start from the ground up and I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to be curious. I'm going to learn everything I can learn. And you started in a company. And then tell me about how you went from that receptionist job to owning your own business.
Yeah, and prior to the identity crisis, one of the things that people like a lot, I talk about in my book, is I have like a framework for overcoming impostor syndrome, which I kind of struggled with in school as well. And I started as a receptionist at this small little startup. My family had a really big real estate company, and I wasn't ready to go into that or sure I could even do anything. So I started as a receptionist, rolled up my sleeves, jumped in, started teaching classes like Excel and PowerPoint and Word, kind of just learning all the different roles, and got into sales and even helped out with the IT work around, back then everything was local and everything. And 5 years into it, and this was right around 2000, and I'm in San Francisco, which was the heart of the .com days. So everything was just blowing up. The guy wasn't working out. They were looking for somebody else. I presented to the board like everybody else, and I said, hey, look, I've done this, this, and this. I'd love a shot. And so they gave me a shot, and it got a little over my skis, as you like to say, because, everything was so great. And, we overexpanded and had some great learning lessons of what not to do. But we overcame that as a team, as an organization. And, we've overcome, 2 or 3 economic downturns. A lot of learning lessons through there, and here we are now again. And we've kind of pivoted from being just a computer training company to really a partner for organizations of all size to help develop leaders and ICPs, whatever they have throughout their organization.
What's this framework for overcoming imposter syndrome?
So you want me to share? So
yeah, let's do it.
So essentially, the framework for overcoming imposter syndrome it's a 4-step framework, and when I was first at Pepperdine, I started off playing baseball at Pepperdine. I was a high school American. When I got there, I was like, everybody's as good as I am or better. So I kind of got, paralyzed, didn't do too well, ended up kind of getting hurt, leaving, had another shot to go to Arizona State. A lot of people said, don't go there because there's going to be 17 guys trying out. I'm like, this is my last chance. And so I developed this framework to overcome imposter syndrome or limiting beliefs. And, step 1 is really labeling your fear. So I call it purposeful awfulizing. And you can use this in a lot of ways, but think 1 year in advance, right? Say you get an opportunity to give a keynote somewhere and you're nervous about it. So, but think, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? Okay, it doesn't go well, right? So who cares? People are upset or laugh at you. You can overcome that. Once you understand what you're afraid of and that you can overcome it, then just go for it. So step 1 is labeling your fear. Step 2 is really working hard. I mean, I don't think there's any hacks for when it comes to hard work. You have to put in the work. And when you do work hard, it really even gets those thoughts out of your mind because you're so focused on putting in the effort, whether it's fielding ground balls as the first guy on the field, last one to leave. And then step 3 is really deliberate practice. And what I mean by that is it's easy to procrastinate and go to areas that maybe, you could work hard, but not on the most focused things. But in giving a keynote, if you're having a hard time with transitions, focus on that. If you're a new manager and it's tough to have difficult conversations, just get out of your comfort zone and really work on that. And so once you've labeled your fear, you've put in the hard work, the deliberate practice, and when it's step 4 is learn and let go, right? So here you are, time to step on stage or into the batter's box, whatever it's going to be. Know that you've put the effort and the preparation into it. Stop thinking about everything. Just go out there, do your best. If things work out, great. If they don't, get some feedback, and everything's an opportunity for growth, for learning. And I think a lot of time, Joel, people just don't give themselves enough credit for even getting out of their comfort zone and taking opportunities. And so, that's just the framework that I've used. And I've shared with a lot of people who've found value in it.
Yeah, that's way more than overcoming imposter syndrome. I mean, that's how to do difficult things. That's how to be successful. As you were listing those off, I was like, yeah, this is what I do. You just described like the majority of my life when I want to go do something. It's usually difficult. I have to figure out why I don't want to do it, or why. Like often I'll know it's good for me and I should do it, but I'll have some hesitation, or I'll have like a dream to do it, but then I'll get shy. And so first thing, that fear, then you got to work hard. You're exactly right. The deliberate practice is usually when I bring in other people. So that's usually when I go into coaching or therapy, like physical therapy, or like when I don't want to do. Deliberate practice for me is usually, I call it like high skill training. And that's usually the thing I don't want to do by myself. I need another person in the room. That's just me. So that's where I would go seek out a coach. If it was speaking, I'd find a speaking coach. If it was comedy, I'd find a writing partner, so on and so forth. And then the letting go, that moment, you described it perfectly, right? When you're sitting there and they're about to call your name, next coming to the stage, it's just like, you've done all you can do. Like all you can do now is just take a deep breath, relax, and just go out there and just do it,
100%. And the good thing is, like, from playing baseball to, I got an opportunity to do a talk at the Naval Academy a year and a half ago. And, of course, you're going to get nervous. And I think having a little nervousness is okay. It kind of keeps you on your edge. But I think anxiety sets in if you don't do the preparation going into it, and you don't do the work, and you're unprepared stepping into it. But whether you're stepping on stage for comedy or into a boardroom or whatever it is you're doing, if you put in all that preparation and that work and deliberate practice, I like what you said about the deliberate practice, because it's also kind of like an accountability partner. You hired a coach, or you're working with the speaker, so you got a little skin in the game, and like it or not, it helps keep you accountable.
Well, it's the easiest thing to like you can push that off and be like, well, I'm working hard. Like I am doing these other things, because there will be certain things that come easier to you. And so it's like you get really good at them. It's fine. But you have to focus on, it takes a lot more effort to do that deliberate high skill stuff. And I notice for me, just grabbing that other person that I respect on the subject, and then having them just walk through the same exercise I could walk through by myself. But I just need, that part of me needs somebody.
And I like what you just said right there too, because it's easy to gravitate towards something that maybe you're comfortable with, and then still say you're working hard. Like I'm working hard, but this is kind of easy, so I'm enjoying this, where you focus on that high skill or whatever it is that you really need that help with. And also, having an expert, like you said, that you could role play with, who can give you feedback. Because sometimes if you're putting in hard work, I'm not a golfer, but if you go out to the driving range and hit the ball 1,000 times, but your setup is wrong, or your hands, my deliberate practice to me is also getting it right and having somebody that can share with you feedback. And feedback's a whole nother thing. I mean, I think that the best leaders I've come across, sure, they know how to give feedback, but they also know how to really receive feedback, so people feel open enough to talk to them about it and then learn from it and grow.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, this is good. All right. So Rob's cool. He recommends good people.
No, he's a good dude. I just set him up with a bunch of podcasts. His book's coming out, pretty soon.
Oh, he's got a book coming out.
Yeah. It's and I could forward you. Well, I mean, he sent me something about it. So yeah, I reached out to. I got a podcast, too, and you're of course I'd love to have you on. But
oh yeah.
But I just reached out to my network, got him on a bunch of shows, and I think he's actually coming out to I'm in San Francisco.
Oh,
I was just out in Nashville last weekend. But
that's our town.
That's your town. I love it. I love it out there.
It's cool. I mean, we moved here 3 years ago, so we're from Florida originally.
Florida, okay.
Yeah, yep. And we're from a beach town in Florida, and we were born and raised there. Both my wife and I, we lived there our whole lives, and we're like, let's go on an adventure. So picked Tennessee, and it was a good choice.
Nice. I mean, how many kids you guys have?
We have 3 under the age of 10.
Nice. I got 2 under the age of 10, 8 and 4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Boys and girls?
I got a girl and a boy. I got a.
You get it? Yeah.
I get it. And I wish my wife was that adventurous, but her family's here, But because I get everybody I know who's telling me I should move out to Franklin, because
that's where I live.
That's where you live? I was at the factory. That's where that woman I was working with.
The factory at Franklin?
Yeah. Factory at Franklin.
I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
my buddy has an office there. There's all that shopping, but then like above there's offices.
Yeah, exactly. And I was walking around the town, the ice cream store. It just looked like a great little town.
Yeah. No, we love it. Real quick, before we continue, I wanted to give a special shout out to DigitalOcean for sponsoring this episode. DigitalOcean is cloud infrastructure that's simple to spin up, complete with integrated AI dev tools, plus 99.99% uptime SLAs and industry-leading pricing on bandwidth. We all know DigitalOcean. It's super reliable, it's been around forever, and now with DigitalOcean's Gradient platform, developers can train, fine-tune, deploy, and scale AI workloads all in one place. DigitalOcean is reliable and affordable at any budget. Companies can save up to 30% on their cloud bill when they come to DigitalOcean. Use code DO25 and get $200 in free credits to get started. Simple cloud, powerful AI, built to scale. That's DigitalOcean.
Now, back to the episode.
So, hey, when we were doing the prep for this, this phrase purposeful awfulizing came up, and I had to Google to see if it was a word that you made up. Turns out not. It is something that happens. Can you tell me about the purposeful awfulizing?
Sure. I mentioned a little bit earlier. I use it as, say, for instance, you're making a big decision, and so fast forward 1 year, a lot of times what people do, whether you're expanding in work or whatever, you're going to acquire a company or hire somebody for a C-level role, you always put on rosy colored glasses and think the best of what can happen. But really, when it comes to a big decision, look out 1 year and what is the worst possible thing that could happen, like a black swan, whatever. And is it something you can overcome? So if it's a situation where you acquire this company and it's going to potentially bankrupt you if everything falls apart, then go back to the drawing board and do something else. So that's really what purposeful awfulizing is just taking things to the worst extreme as a way to use it as a decision-making tool, really.
Okay, so you imagine the worst possible outcome, and then you
I thought I did
make your
it up.
decision.
You found it somewhere else? I mean, yeah.
No,
what can you do?
I Googled it, and it was, it says awful. I just Googled the word awfulizing.
Yeah.
And it says, in the context of rational emotional behavior therapy, the tendency to exaggerate the negative aspects of a situation.
Yeah. Well,
we'll get, oh, look, here it is right at the bottom, invented by Damon.
Does it say that?
No, I'm just trying to help you out a little bit.
Come on, help me out a little bit. I mean, you should have my ghostwriter's name on there, the one who helped me with my book. But yeah, I mean, she helped me with that. But yeah.
Damon is the second mention from what I'm seeing. So
there you go, Josh.
That counts as something.
Yeah. Is it really?
Yeah. Well, if I can pop this in real quick.
Yeah. Another one is the trust tax. I don't know if we talked about that at all, but that's a good one too.
No, we will. Oh, okay. There he goes.
Yeah.
There we go. So,
I think that counts. Yeah.
We'll give it to
Josh.
Yeah. Thank you, Google.
Here you go.
They're playing favorites because they're out in San Francisco too. I'm just kidding. Okay, so we got the purposeful awfulizing, which is quite a word to say. It's hard word to say. And then what did you want to run into real quick? I cut you off a little bit.
Oh, no, I mean, at the end of the day, all I care about is whatever conversation we could have to better serve your audience is really is whatever it is that, I can tie back to better serve your audience. You just got to let me know, or we can just.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. So I hate when people try to do the family at work thing. And I saw that in your book. And I was like, okay, what are your thoughts on when work tries to say, hey, we're all a big family?
Yeah, I'm opposed to that. In my opinion, as a business leader, small business owner, somebody leading a team, just like in sports, it's your responsibility to put an elite team on the field at all times. You owe it to everybody else in your organization. Now, it's nice to say you have a family. I mean, but you can't fire Uncle Joe. He's always going to be your uncle, So there are situations where people outgrow their roles in an organization and they opt out, and that's totally fine, right? That doesn't mean they're not loyal or anything anymore. And I've also run into several situations with clients we've helped, and I've seen internally at LearnIt is, you've hit your maximum capacity and it's time for us to move in a different direction, because what got us here is not going to move us there. And that doesn't, and I'm totally against the whole, this is a family over a team, because you owe it to your team to make sure that you're putting the best people on the field at all times.
Yeah. And when you look at the team, it's like you're there because you're a high performer and you're getting paid because you're a high performer. And if you decide to not be a high performer, it's very clear that you're off the team. But to your point of the family thing, I think we're really similar in our perspective of that. I was like, if you fire Bob, like, if you do that with a family member, they're still at Thanksgiving.
That's what I mean.
And Christmas.
Yeah.
Like you don't get, there's no getting, I have never been fired from someplace and like, I still go spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because I've actually had people that I've let go, and they showed up to our 30th anniversary party that we just had. And one of the gentlemen I talk about in my book, actually he didn't get let. It was a mutual, Jim Mollet, very close friend of mine. I'm like godfather to both of his kids. He was with me for 15 years, one of the best Microsoft Office instructors I've ever seen. But he got to the point where he just was, dialing it in every day, right? He just didn't care. He wasn't passionate about it anymore. And I sat him down and I said, we're not doing each other any favors. I know you care about me and I know that I care about you, but you're just not happy here. And it's time to go out. Let's work together. Then we could bridge the gap and find a new role for you. And he's like, oh, it's hard. I haven't been out on the job market in 15 years. I'm like, buddy, we have to do this because, I'm going to give you 30 days to figure it out. And he did. And he left. And fast forward 8 years later, he's been at Okta for 8 years and he's crushing it over there. And he thanks me for helping get him out of his comfort zone. And that's one of the things, Joel, I think is really important as a leader too, is leaders have to get out of their comfort zone. Because if you're always protecting your comfort zone all the time, you're doing a disservice to the people on your team. It was tough for me to replace Jim Mollet. I mean, he was a fixture at LearnIt and a fixture for our customers. But I knew he wasn't happy, and I knew that he was no longer delivering the same level of service to our customers, and it turned out to be a win-win for everybody.
That was one of the lessons that I had to learn. So for my early career, I was the co-founder of several different softwares where I had a business co-founder that knew the business side of things. And so he would deal with all the different hirings and firings and all the deals and everything. And then about 7 to 10 years ago, when the podcast was like getting more popular and started hiring people and building out more teams of my own, I started realizing that all my software stuff was very contractual. Like I had a project, hired a team, and it was very contractual. But when I started the podcast business, working with all the salespeople and hiring them, and having done that, I learned really quickly that it's actually the kind thing to do to notice someone's like checked out and to let them go. Like there's like a way to compassionately let people go. And then it's weird too, because here's the thing that got me in my first early mistakes is like, you don't want to, because it's very uncomfortable.
That's what I mean.
So like you can see them not performing, but like you don't want to, like you'll know you have to let them go, but you don't want to because it's uncomfortable. But then it's compassionate, because what signal are you sending to them? Because now you're giving them an unfair experience in the job market, because that behavior is not acceptable for this type of situation. So,
well, and what kind of signal are you sending to the rest of your organization?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about having a high performing team. Well, if you make exceptions for people who are kind of checked out, then you're not modeling the behavior that you're striving for, and that sends mixed signals, which can really confuse teams, and people just won't put in the effort anymore as much. And they're like, well, that guy's not, or that woman's not. And I also think, and it's hard, for your listeners out there who are leading teams or small business owners, it's hard to get out of your comfort zone and have those conversations. I mean, it really is. I mean, before you get to the point of letting somebody go, you got to have those hard conversations and try to coach them up, give them an opportunity and figure out what's going on. But what I try to work with our clients on, and even internally at LearnIt, where we got about 75 employees and managers and leaders, if somebody's coming to work every day and they're failing and they're struggling, I mean, they're probably miserable anyways. So you're being compassionate enough to them to help them go out and find something that they're better at, where they belong somewhere else, and they can be happy at their job. Because I think it's really difficult to be successful at your work if you're doing poorly and you're miserable. So it is compassionate.
I have had a handful of people come back and thank me for letting them go.
Yeah.
They're like, thank you. That was obviously not like year or two later. They're like, I found something I really enjoy doing. Thank you for not just like letting me sit there. And I was like, all right.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, but it's tough, but it also takes a good leader or a group of leaders to be connected enough with their team to understand who's successful or who's drowning in whatever they're doing as well, and then to be proactive and address it.
Oh yeah, like I've never understood how you can lead people without like knowing them. Like how you could just like put them at an arm's length distance, like not actually know them. And then, I mean, at least when it's like high stakes and you have an executive team, like you really have to know everybody,
Absolutely. And I mean, one little tip I have on that is open up every conversation with something personal, just like, hey, Joel, how are your kids doing? Or what'd you guys do this weekend? Or what's been going on? And then that builds a type of a connection, I mean, instead of making it a transactional relationship, because what I see is that, especially these days, and it's not soft, I mean, it's not soft. I mean, people want to have purpose and belonging, and what transpires in your personal life can affect your work life, right? Maybe their wife got let go, maybe a kid's sick, so if they're not being able to show up as themselves in the office, I mean, you have to, I don't know. I think that's a good way to help start off a conversation, and it doesn't take very long. It takes 15, 20 seconds, and listen to what they have to say. And then you can move on to the business aspect of it, and then end those same conversations with, if you ever read The Coaching Habit, which is a great book.
Yeah.
And what else? Is there anything else on your mind you want to discuss? And whether it's helping them reprioritize what they have going on at work, or if there's something they want to get off their chest, I just think it's important as a leader, no matter how busy you are, if you want to have a great team, getting to know them. And I'm not saying you have to be best friends with them, and I'm not saying you need to know the ins and outs of their wife yelling at them the night before, or whatever the issue is. I'm not saying that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, like, hey, what's going on, man? I mean, a guy on my team this was his birthday the other day. I'm like, hey, Eddie, happy birthday, buddy. How are the kids doing? And he's like, I really appreciate you asking. I mean, and that's just, I don't know. I think that helps, especially if you're in a hybrid kind of work environment like I am, where I only see half the team on a regular basis and everybody else is all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole other hybrid work. And you had something about trust earlier. You mentioned something about trust. I think that's what I wanted to get into a little bit. And since we're talking about remote work and working with people, what do you want to say about trust?
Well, another little signature terms I have in there in my book is the trust tax. Mm-hmm. And first and foremost, when it comes to leading a team, I don't think you can be a great leader if you don't have trust. And trust is earned. You can't just, you need to earn everybody else's trust by whether it's modeling the behavior, having character, whatever it is, whatever it is, you need to build the trust with your team. Now, the trust tax is, think of it this way. I'm sure you've been there. I've been there plenty of times where you really invest in somebody, and you go to bat for them, and they turn around and let you down for one reason or the other. They quit and try to steal your customers. They lie to you. I mean, the trust tax is, and I learned this from my dad, who really had a big heart and gave everybody a shot. Every once in a while, you're going to be let down, and so you have two options. Are you going to be, somebody who's always on defensive and, cynical, and look at people through that lens? Or are you going to, not be naive, but start off with an open door and believing that the people that you're bringing in, giving them a responsibility and the, empowering them to do it instead of micromanaging them or whatever it is. But, 19 out of 20 times it's going to go well, but there's that tax, that 10% of the time, not even 10%, 5% of the time, you might get let down. And that's just going to happen. A situation you got to learn from and go from there. I mean, we're all going to get burnt at some point in our career and in our personal life as well. So it's just,
and nobody wants to be around the person who's feels like they're always going to get burned.
Totally.
That's like a dull, disillusioned. That's not a good, healthy, I don't want to spend time with those people. I want to spend time with, early in my career, I had a couple great people that I got to watch their behavior, and then I chose to model it. And one of the things that has stuck with me forever, Damon, is this guy, Robert. He would do this thing where whenever he interacted with one of his employees, like family members, like they came for lunch or to an event or whatever, let's say it was a sales guy or me, he used me like software engineer at the time on his team, he would say to my wife or my girlfriend or whatever, he would say, Joel is the best software engineer in the world. He is just unbelievable. He would treat me really well outside of that, but he would go out of his way to make a point to tell, or if he were to see my kids today, he'd be like, do you know your dad is the best in the world at this? So I've just done that. I saw that in my early 20s. It made me feel so good, and I wanted other people. And the thing is, you can just choose to hire great people on your team. And then when you have great people on your team, you're telling the truth. It's like that. So that's what I do. I'm like, when I'm hiring people, I'm thinking to myself, okay, am I going to be able to be who I want to be with this person? Because I can't take a horrible person and I'm not going to, do that. I'm not going to talk up somebody who's not great, but you have great people on your team, and then you make sure to let them know. And even I do that with my, even my friends that I don't work with their kids, because we've got the young kids and so we're around it and stuff. Your dad's the funniest comic on the scene, or, something like that. And they're always it's always the same thing. They're always stunned or what? Or, and I just know that it makes everybody feel real good, and it makes me feel good too.
And how easy is it to do it?
It's so easy. It doesn't cost anything.
It doesn't cost anything. I always do it all the time too. I mean, I'm like you. I'm like, your dad is the best instructor we've ever had, or I mean, he's our best salesperson of all time, or he's just awesome, or and it lights him up. And those kind of things are easy to do. I mean, I interviewed a legendary Doug Conant, who sent 30,000. He was the CEO of Campbell Soup, 30,000 handwritten notes. And he said that these handwritten notes would show up somewhere in the world, and somebody could be a janitor at Campbell's, whatever it was, but the janitor being able to show his wife or his kids the note that he got from the CEO. He said it would make him feel so great, and for the rest of his life, still people will remember those notes that he sent. Just easy gratitude. Yeah,
it is great. See, that was one of the most impactful things I'd say on my whole career. I like you had in the book about Richard Branson, screw it, let's do it. Right. That's always, he's good for a social media clip, right? That's we've all been at that point where we're just screw it, let's go, But is that is there some skill when to use that as a decision-making process? Like, how do you go about doing that?
Absolutely. There's skill and thought that needs to go into it. And it kind of ties back to what we were talking about with purposeful awfulizing. You can't just say, screw it, let's do it in a life-altering situation, professionally or personally. I mean, you can't just pick up and move your kids to a different area without even doing some type of research on schools or whatever it is important to you, or making a huge investment in something in your organization. So there are times to use that and not to use it. In my book, it's pretty funny. I actually use a story about I threw a party for Guns N' Roses, and back in 2006, 2007. And the situation, the short version of the situation is, the club we were having it at, they told me like 2 hours before the party started that there was a chance that the water was going to go out in the neighborhood. And, if the water goes out in the neighborhood, there's no water, there's no bathrooms or anything. And so the decision was, do we cancel the party, or do we just say, screw it, let's do it anyways and see what happens? And the bottom line is, we just went for the party, because even if the water went out, worst thing that happened, everybody just goes home, so it's not like a life-threatening situation. So we said, screw it, let's just go for it. And same thing comes for opportunities, whether it's speaking gigs or whatever. Sometimes we overthink things, right? We overthink opportunities, like maybe I'm not good enough to do this, or, I don't know how we're going to make this work. But sometimes you just have to go for it and then figure it out on the back end.
I love it. And then the big question, this has been a debate since the beginning of time, focus on elevating strengths or focus on improving weaknesses. What team are you on?
Yeah. I'm curious to see what you say. I think I know the answer. 100% on the strengths part. And I say that because I think it takes a lot less effort for you get a lot more bang for your buck to focus on somebody's strengths. And I also think that great leaders, if you have somebody on your team, I have multiple stories in my book about this, who has the right values. And I always hired for attitude and aptitude over skill, even, somebody who had the ability to learn and drive and work to do it, than somebody with a bunch of experience who, was a know-it-all. If somebody had the right values, you could usually teach them the skills. And sometimes you put them in roles. I had one guy who started off in sales, the guy from New Jersey, started off in sales, and, it just wasn't working for him. So sat down with him, got curious, like, hey, Joe, you're great. I think you're great for our organization. What is it about? What are you passionate about? What do you think you're good at? And he's like, oh, I studied computer science and I was in acting. And at first I was like, computer science doesn't seem like this guy took computer science classes. Anyways, we moved him into an instructor role and he's crushed it ever since. So I'm a big believer on trying to improve your strengths, unless your weaknesses are going to cost you your job and you need to, clean those up a little bit, then that's my thoughts. What about you?
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur. I've been my whole life, and what I found out really quick is that I came up with this philosophy on like distance from revenue, like how close to revenue something is, because there's a million things you can focus on. And so I look how closely something is connected to revenue and then put my attention there. And so what I found is that my strengths are the closest thing to revenue. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, I will, for my personal development, I'm just going to improve my strengths. And then for these areas that are sagging over here, I'll just hire people that have those strengths.
Totally.
And then that way I'm just doing what I'm really good at. And then I'm doing the things I want to do, because, you've been a business owner for quite a while. You've got burnout, and it's just, you've done 1,000 of these episodes. You've been doing it for a long time. And so it's like, I have to focus on, I have a recurring event actually from a friend of mine, another entrepreneur, who suggested it to me at lunch one time. And so thank you, Andy. And so now I have a recurring event every 3 months that fires in my calendar that says revisit Andy's list. And Andy's list is really simple: are you doing what you love? What are you doing that you don't love? And who could you get to do that? And I go through those. That's been going for 5 years now. And it's always a surprise when it pops up every 3 months. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing every once in a while. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing something I really don't love. That's part of my habit, that go on Upwork or open a new role or something, depending on what it is. And that's served me really well.
That's great. a guy out in your neck of the woods, Michael Hyatt, has the Freedom Compass.
Okay.
And I've used something very similar throughout the last 5 or 6 years. I used to be in this business accelerator, and it was really the same thing. You figure out what are you passionate about, but what are you also, what are you strong at? It's kind of reflecting back, where do you spend your time? And you look at the things that you're doing and that maybe you're not passionate about, you're not good at. Can you automate them? Can you eliminate them? And again, it's just kind of helps you look back at, and I do it probably once or twice a year, but I think it's so important to look at that. And what you said is so key. You can't do everything. You can't, if you try to do everything, you're the jack of all trades, master of nothing, right? And so build a team, whether that's Upworkers, these days, AI agents or whatever it is that help support your blind spots or your weaknesses. And then, but if you have those teams, whether you have to then be able to delegate those responsibilities and let people do the work. Don't jump in and try to do it. Do what you were talking about. Focus on what's closest to revenue, if that's important to you, which should be, and what your strengths are, and let other people that you brought in, because you brought them in for a reason, so let them do the work.
Absolutely. Leadership advice. We've obviously been talking most of this episode about leadership advice. First question I have is, what is your favorite leadership book, that other than the book you've written?
Right now, my favorite leadership book is Team Arrivals by Doris Keene Goodwin. I think I said that right. And it's great. It's about Abraham Lincoln when he brought, he brought in all these members of his cabinet, and they were so different than him, and some of them were his staunchest competitors and hated him. But it's a great leadership book because it talks about the importance of diverse opinions and also about being humble and learning, and also how at the end of the day, he turned these people around to be on his side. So that is one of my go-to right now. And I also like a lot of Richard Branson's books that I think those are cool too. But I'm a big biography guy.
Me too.
Big biography guy. If I wanted like a strict business book, I'd probably say I really like Amped Up by Frank Slootman, who was the CEO of Snowflake and ReadyServe and a couple other places. But I'm more into the biographies.
Me too. Actually, when I was in my early 20s, I bought 3. I bought Bezos, Branson, and Musk.
Okay.
And I learned more about business through those. They're not business books, but I learned more about business through reading their life stories than I have learned in any business book ever. Because what you get is this intangible of watching how they frame the world through their eyes. And that is the thing that I personally found valuable.
And what I think is so great about that is when I kind of coach or talk leaders of all levels, but especially high performers new in the career, I say, go out and read 10 biographies. Just start with reading 10 biographies, military, history, leaders, whatever it is. Learn from their mistakes, their wins, how they look at the world. I mean, there's just so many great lessons. I'm a big Winston Churchill fan, in World War II stuff. And I just think that it's easy to connect leadership in the corporate world or entrepreneurial world with business. But I got a quick question. What's one great leadership book that you recommend?
Ooh, I would, it's not going to be too fascinating. I would say to read those 3 biographies.
Yeah. There we go.
That's going, and then the other leadership stuff I'd say is do something very difficult, because you have to become a better person to do super difficult things. And usually when software engineers ask me for advice, I'll tell them to do something like go to the gym consistently. Because usually people already have their professional vector like pretty well locked down. They have some skill, they're in the marketplace, they're earning some money, they're doing something with their skill set, and they're trying to figure out how to expand. Like, why am I not getting promoted? Well, there is this unspoken thing among humans where we all have these bars, and people, like, if you see a huge jack dude come in, you raise your bar, like your standard just got raised. Like we downplay so much, and I'm 38. So what I've noticed over the past 20 years is we've all tried to take our physical appearances and downplay them. Like, it doesn't matter, but I look at it like a computer case. Like, it does matter.
It does. Even if it's subconsciously, it does matter. Nobody wants somebody walk in 2 minutes late, sloppy looking. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really not that cool. I mean, we do a lot of that work at LearnIt where it's just, especially with individuals early in their career, companies bring us in and say, help these just show up professionally on Zoom. I mean, just look, but you're right. I think when people come across as being healthy or taking care of themselves, and I think it goes a long way.
Oh, it just absolutely does. I mean, it's the main reason why I try so hard. It's like I get up and I do my exercise and I do my stuff and I eat right and I track my, macros. So and all of this is I like how I feel when I perform at a high level. And I don't like how I feel when I'm foggy or like not getting it. I don't want to be it's 9 a.m. Don't talk to me until I get my coffee person. I want to wake up and I want to be focused and clear, and I want to have a good day so I can feel good about myself and build that internal respect. And so that I'm modeling the behavior that I want my kids, because they're not going to listen to a thing I say. They're just going to do what I do. So I want my kids to model it. And so all of those things like really drive me. And as you know, too, being an entrepreneur, it's hard. You have higher stress levels. You have to work out because working out reduces the stress. So it's like you can do more difficult things if you're healthier. And so it's like, that's the life I want. And so I made a conscious choice to live like that.
Well, good for you. I mean, the only thing I'd add to that, which you kind of stated anyways, is I want to be around for my kids. I'm 52, and
are you really? You look good for 52, dude.
Thanks, man. I'm trying.
I was gonna say 45.
No, I'm 52. Unfortunately, my dad passed away at 62. Huge businessman, Joel, but he didn't take care of himself, and he died of cancer, and and a lot of it has to do with not taking care of yourself in his situation. And I really want to be around for my kids. One of the things that I did is, and it's about all the behavior. Like I quit drinking 8 years ago, never got in trouble, but we drank a lot, and I just got to the point where it's like, just exactly what you were saying right there. I don't want to be foggy and wait till 10 o'clock to feel better, because as an entrepreneur, it is so hard. You're always on stage. Everybody's always looking to you, right? Ups and downs. And I've just found that, medicating yourself with alcohol or poor food doesn't do the job. I mean, I feel much better and ready to fight the fight if I'm just taking care of myself, getting some sleep, and not even a little hungover at, especially as you get older.
Yeah, it's real simple. Get a screaming 2-year-old and be hungover, and you'll just stop drinking. Yeah, I quit drinking about the time I had kids as well.
I did right before. Yep.
Yeah, and I love how you said using poor food as medication.
Yeah,
because that is exactly what happens. You get high stress. You go eat some junk food because you're trying to get that dopamine hit and that sugar rush to overcome the bad feeling versus just addressing the root cause. Yeah.
And it spirals. Then everything kind of spirals, and you're just in this wheel of garbage is what I say. So, I'm not out there trying to tell people to quit drinking. I'm at all. Right?
I will. I'll say it for you. Quit drinking, guys. It's poison. You're paying to put poison in your body.
And, it's one of the most things I'm most proud of what I've ever been able to accomplish is just stop doing it. And if a guy like if I can do it, anybody can. You just got to put your mind to it. And I think I've been a much better leader. And obviously, I got a wild 4-year-old son. I could never keep up with. I could never keep up with Wally if I was hungover.
No, you don't want to be hungover and get punched in the crotch. No. That is not.
Yeah,
that is not fun.
Yeah, 6 a.m. on a Saturday.
Well, Damon, we made a podcast. How do you feel?
Great, man. It was an honor to be here, and you're a great guy, and your buddy Josh was super helpful too.
Thank you so much for listening. And if you found this episode useful, please share it with a friend or a colleague who you think would get value from it. And if you have topics that you'd like to hear discussed on the podcast, either add me on LinkedIn or send me an email, joel@moderncto.io. Every time I get an email or LinkedIn message, it absolutely makes my day and inspires me to keep going.